Hi, we're Concentrix. We power the brands of the future. Some call us the Global Technology and Services Organization, but we're so much more. Human-centered, tech-powered, intelligence-fueled. Every day, we're busy helping over 2,000 of the world's best brands solve their toughest business challenges, whether it's designing game-changing brand experiences, building and scaling secure AI technologies, or building loyalty to drive revenue. We've got them covered. We design, build, and run fully integrated end-to-end solutions across the entire enterprise at speed and scale. We're the strategic thinkers who design brand-defining experiences, the technologists and engineers who build smarter solutions, and the operational experts who run it all and make it work seamlessly. Experience the power of Concentrix.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to AM Live seminar on customer experience technology investment. Tony was just laughing and said, you know you're going to have to stop because that video is 20 minutes long, which is actually just shocked me a little bit. So here we do. Our panel is actually an esteemed collection of people on all sides of the debate. Okay, so we have Rob Bailey sitting in the middle, CTO with Omoda. Matthew Simpkins at the end, VP of Sales, so with Salesforce, and Tony Patterson, MD of Automotive with Concentrix, who is sponsoring this session. So Tony says he knows a lot of you in the audience, but just for simplicity and for newcomers to the subject, we're going to start with the basics. So what is customer experience technology? And to start off, let's get the OEM's point of view from Rob.
So customer experience spans the whole life cycle of a customer, from their first interactions and exploring your brand all the way through to ownership, retention and loyalty. And I think the technology that supports that, there's such a wide plethora of technology to support every stage that you need to make the right decisions to be able to integrate that journey into a seamless flow for the customer. I think one of the most important things at the moment is that everything's integrated. You know who that customer is, you know what the next best action is for them. But from an OEM perspective, our customers are the dealers, and getting the dealer and the data in front of the dealer at the right time to take that action for us is pivotal in that customer experience. Gone are the days where people walk into a car dealership after exploring a brand online, and then the dealer starts the conversation again with, so who are you, what do you want? They've got the information, they know the model of interest, they know how far the customer's got in the customer experience, whether they've got a part exchange, whether they've looked at finance, etc. And getting that data in front of the right person at the right moment is, for us, critical to delivering a good customer experience.
Okay, so from a tech provider's point of view, Matthew from Salesforce, what's your take on it?
So I think we've all worked across the kind of CX space for a number of years, right? So there's nothing new here, but I think for a long time we've done it in quite a modular fashion, right? We focused on marketing experience, we focused on the call center, we focused on the showroom. We then went through the big surge of kind of omni-channel and online off the back of the pandemic and assisted selling. We've tried different sales channels. Some have been successful, some haven't. I think where we are now is what is that next generation of truly integrated, as Rob was saying, like end to end, from factory all the way through to showroom, through to the car itself as the car's becoming connected, and it's that level of kind of connected, always on experience that we're seeing customers asking us for as Salesforce to kind of bring it together. The challenge with it all, as we'll kind of come on to this, is that actually it's requiring a lot more work than I think was originally anticipated. So hence the question is, how do we now do it as efficiently as possible. And to the Concentrix logo, how do you build and how do you also run, right? You've got to actually be able to operate this in a really effective way, predominantly in a showroom.
Yes. Okay, so best practitioner, Tony. Tony's from Concentrix.
Well, I'm not sure about best practice, but as a recipient of CX technology, Concentrix have nearly 500,000 people talking to our clients' customers, and they're basically using technology to do that in a more effective way. So we come as the people who say, we need technology to do it bigger and better and faster. However, quite often the technology that we're given or the promises of technology that we're given don't allow us to give us our promises. So we will be judged on happy customers, what's the NPS score, on transition and transformation. Without CX tech, we basically cannot do our job. So I represent everybody here who's got a technology project that's been treated like a technology project and not a business project.
Yeah.
Okay. So some actually started on the journey. Okay. Some will be contemplating it. And I'm just wondering, what is the condition for success? What is it?
Shall I start and continue? Actually,
You can start, Tony.
let me
yes.
continue where I am. So the condition for success is not treating this like a technology project. Treat it as a business project and make sure that you have people who are driving that, who are not looking at technology, but are also looking at process and people, and actually how the operation is going to develop.
Yes.
Start with what you want. You may want more sales. You may want cheaper, lower cost operations. However, technology on its own won't give you that. In fact, it may give you the opposite.
Yeah. Okay. Tony, just one thing. What is the critical factor? I'm going to ask each of you at the end of your...
Yes, I would say have a transformation project with technology as part of it.
Right. Okay. Rob, as an OEM.
So I think there's a number of key stages, but the first is to have the right technology. Don't try and make a technology do something it's not designed to do. Secondly is the partner. So who's going to implement that? Once you've got the technology and the partner, you need the right people internally to drive that change. And that needs to be, as Tony mentioned, a transformational program. You're not just adding an IT system that's going to change your whole business. You're changing the business and implementing an IT system to support that business change. Now, if you don't have all three of those together, then you can have the best technology, but it won't be implemented well without the partner, and then it won't be adopted and used internally from the top down, from the board owning that change, and then the people on the ground being part of that program of change. There isn't going to be a successful state at the end of the program.
Okay, and your critical factor?
People.
People. Okay.
Yeah,
Matthew.
it's people as well, right? I think the people are the ones that have to go through the change. The people are the ones that have to ultimately create a better experience for the customer. And actually, Kim from Pinewood just said it in the early theatre session, right? A great employee experience helps deliver a great customer experience. And I think for me, the people aspect boils down to three things, right? You know, having formerly been in an OEM and put CRM into 500 dealerships in 46 countries. Executive sponsorship from the GM and dealer principal, right? They have to sponsor and lead the charge. The managerial level have to understand the kind of the analytical capability so they can actually performance manage and run their business. And then for me, it's about empowering everybody in the showroom, right? The receptionist, stock controllers, F&I, everybody has to understand their role in the value chain, because as we know, otherwise, the customer experience falls through the cracks somewhere along the line. So yeah, for me, it's people. I mean, you'd expect this as a salesforce guy, right? The technology's there, the technology works, it's proven. The differentiator is the people and the way that they embrace it, adopt it, and sponsor it.
Yeah, so it's got to be a transparent adoption of the technology across the business. So how does an organisation do that? Is it like a training with the whole dealer workforce there?
Yeah, it's a good question. So going back to my first point, I would encourage customers to take technology in a modular approach, right? I know quite often we want to do a leapfrog, a big transformation, but quite often, again, going back to people don't have the capacity to do that. The partner approach is really key, right? At Salesforce, we have an open partner ecosystem, right? So we're here with Concentrix today, great partner, huge global footprint, really, really close to our kind of CX strategy. You know, we have See It Now, we have partnerships with iVendi, we have partnerships now with Concentrix and others. Like, we go to market by actually partnering and bringing the ecosystem together. Because I think that is how you kind of then take the workforce with you, right? You can't, the idea that you can kind of go standalone is I think, a misconception in the marketplace, right?
Yeah.
Like, you have to, just like you get a coach, right, or you get a therapist, or you get a trainer, like when you want to do something new and different, you get a coach and a mentor to take you with you, and I think CX is no different.
Yeah.
I was just going to say it all sounds like hard work, doesn't it? And I think the challenge is we've all seen shiny tech. In fact, the more AI and the more Gen AI it gets, the shinier it gets. And there's a really good Salesforce video about Agentforce, SACs, and it's amazing. And actually, any of us could go and literally code that. The challenge is it needs a really effective data layer below it. So I think that's why, as people who've kind of been in amongst these projects, we realize, get the people, get the data all set up, and then the shiny stuff follows almost by rows.
Yeah, we've talked a lot about people, but you touched on data there. Data's critical. If you haven't got the data, you can't take the action. So understanding the data you need to do the job, to take the action that you want to take. One thing that we're looking at the moment is feedback on test drives. I need to know when a customer's had a test drive. If I send it too soon and they haven't been in the car yet, it won't be engaged with in the right way. If I send it too late, then it won't be engaged with in the right way. So setting up the automation from having the right data at the right time allows us to put things in front of the customer at the right time to take the right action.
Yeah, I mean, if I just build on the data point, right? And I'm going to have to talk about AI. I'd get fired if I didn't, right? So our AI products at Salesforce have been available for 3 weeks. We have 300 live customers using them. I personally save between 4 and 6 hours a week on these products, but we can spin up a prototype for a customer or prospect pretty quickly. So I did this in front of an OEM. You're an intelligent audience, you can work out which one, but I'm not allowed to say. And we demoed this, and actually it came back with some inaccurate product and pricing data. So all we did was we scraped their entire website, put it into a vector database, and used that as part of the prompt engineering for the agent. And it came back with inaccurate data. So they were like, well, this isn't good. Like, the whole point of AI is it's supposed to be trusted. So we said, okay, well, we'll ask the agent, where did it find that data from? And it pulls back the URL, and it was a 3-year-old press release. It was still sat on their website, because when they originally announced the concept vehicle, guess what? It had a different powertrain and it had a different projected price. So the importance of data is going to be really, really key. If you want to unlock AI, before you get excited by all the whiz-bang tooling, you need to go through your data quality, its accuracy, its recency, and you need to archive stuff, because the agent will only use what you feed it, and you've got to then be able to put the guardrails around it. So yeah, I fully agree with Rob's point. Like, that's kind of I don't want to say it's the ticking time bomb, but it's a bit of the iceberg under the water that actually needs the most amount of work. And it's going to need much closer collaboration between OEMs and dealers, but also the wider partner ecosystem. So again, if I'm taking some of my finance data from iVendi, or I'm taking my call script information from Concentrix, or whatever it might be, those data points that feed into your master CX system have got to all have the same kind of data quality standards and cleansing, right? And
I was going to say back to the modular, it doesn't have to be some huge big T transformation. Let's pick a use case, work out how to make it better. People always say, well, practically, is anybody really using Gen AI? So one example in our world is, in the old world, you would have a QA person who would listen into 3 interactions with a customer, and then would come back at the end of the month and give some feedback to the agent, and then there'd be some training. We've now got AI that in real time listens to 100% of calls. On the call, we'll give the information and a steer to the person on the call, and then do a training recommendation and a summary of 100% of all calls. What that means is that people can be more effective, and actually you're helping as well, because the big challenge is, well, is AI just going to take over people? And actually that's 100% not true. You might have people doing different things, but what we found is that our people are more effective because they're empowered with AI.
Yeah.
And you just need to have a good plan to be able to deliver it with the people, with the process, and with the data.
Okay, so AI is the engine driving everything. What aspect of a dealership or a user's business stands to benefit most from the adoption of CX technology? Tony, in a dealership environment?
Well, you could, I think aftersales is an obvious one. You know, aftersales doesn't need to be an afterthought. You know, you can start to use to make the process more efficient. You can start to use the communication as well, because once you've got that data, you can then start to effectively communicate at exactly the right time.
Yeah.
And I think it's probably an observation that says, as an industry, we tend to acquire customers as opposed to retain them.
Yes. From Omoda's point of view.
AI is very good at making simple transactions as simple as they should be. To get product data and the information a customer wants in front of them quickly and easily, you don't need to wait for someone to see the email, respond to the email. If you set the systems up correctly to understand what the customer wants and then send them the correct data back by their preferred means. If they want a brochure on the car, then being able to find that easily, but they might just want to ask a question, and having a chat bot or a chat feature available on the website where they can search and find exactly what they want, that enables them to get the data quicker, but it also frees up the workforce within the dealership to add more value to other customers at different stages of the journey. You don't need to be on a phone call with a customer explaining to them about the charging of an electric vehicle if it's available on the website, and then they can interrogate that data. So you're freeing up your time to convert those customers further along the journey, spend the time with the customer face-to-face in the car on the test drive, and adding the value to the experience there. I think a lot of the kind of day-to-day transactions we see from a lot of other markets outside of automotive, fashion and retail in general, doing your grocery shopping, and the recommendation it gives you based on what you already know the customers bought previously. Well, with automotive, if they own a car, we know what car they own, so we should be personalising that content that we're sending to the customer. Not just saying, here's a picture of our Halo car, or we're launching this car over here, which is totally different from what you drive. This is your car, this is who you are, this is your demographic, and this is the lifestyle options available to you as part of your ownership of that vehicle. And that's very simple to build up that picture with the right data captured at the right stage of the customer journey.
Yeah, I think for me it is probably after sales. So the probably one of the top 3 use cases we're seeing is actually kind of after sales and product data, right? So you've got technicians in your work bays working on multiple different vehicles, multiple different brands over multiple different years, and all of that documentation is not always as accessible as it was. And if you're onboarding new staff, the ramp-up time is great. Right, you can take every product catalog, every online service history document, every piece of training material, you can put that in a vector database, and then somebody can just ask in natural language, I've got a 19, whatever it is, I'm going to get this wrong, right? I've got a Ford Capri that's come in, this is the plate, what parts do I need, what do I need to think about before I start taking the vehicle apart? And it will just provide that information. So basically you can turn every one of your service technicians into like a 30-year-old experienced technician. So that for me in the showroom is probably the number 1 use case. If you're a big multi-franchise dealer group running a call center, then the fastest time to value is augmenting your agents with your employees with an agent that will basically summarize the call script. So when you hang up the phone, it's listened to the whole conversation, and it will then just type up the notes, and it will fill out the fields for you. And then if the customer calls in again, you can just say, summarize the last 6 weeks of interaction with this customer, and it will summarize it for you rather than you flicking through tabs and screens. So if you're after productivity in a call center, I'd say that's it. If you're after kind of workforce enablement and empowerment, it's taking product data and putting that into AI.
Right, okay, thank you. Tony, what's the level of adoption in the industry at the moment? Who's using it?
well, I mean, I think everybody's
Can't
using
comment.
it, but is it what are they using and how?
Yes.
You know, I mean, we did a proof of concept in Excel.
Yeah, I mean, I mean,
So
I
actually,
imagine
that's
the
my
most-
challenge, which is, you know, either I think it's about maturity. So
Yes.
in my view, there's you know, everybody is an automotive retailer, but the challenge is, are you actually that, or are you still a dealer, or are you a kind of a true retailer? And you can judge it on a number of factors, and maybe one of them is the sophistication in terms of how you use Salesforce, for example.
You know, or clienteling, right? Kind of moving away from sort of transactional selling to more clienteling. The whole kind of the brand store that quite a few of the OEMs are moving towards as a
Yeah.
model. It's that
Because if you look at
transition, right?
retail, then the best retailers will have a single view of the customer, and they'll use that single view of the customer to sell more, but to support that customer. Now, I would expect that actually not a lot of people have a single view of the customer that they can actually leverage, and that's about technology.
Yes, okay. Rob, anything to add?
I think the basics are there with a lot of our retailers. I think what we need to build on are those incremental additions to the foundations, and actually look at the value to the customer with every increment that we're delivering. What we don't want to do is go down the shiny route of, oh well, the customer will get this action, and it's amazing. Does the customer actually want that? So if you look at what the customer wants, or for us what the dealer wants, we're looking at automation, getting all of the data connected, so that they're not entering into multiple systems, having the right data at the right place at the right time to take the action, but that will also enable the automation to take out the administrative activity and enable them to focus on spending time with the customer, adding value, and that's where the human comes in. Let the technology do the mundane, let it do everything on the admin side. You focus on the customer then, and that's what a customer wants. And being able to spend that time without phones ringing and people wanting to know simple data that should be easily available to them on various channels, that allows your people to do their job better. Service booking. Why should someone have to make a phone call to book a service? Obviously, if it's more complex and there's information that the service technician or service manager needs about a fault, but for standard servicing, MOT bookings and things like that, then that can all be automated online with a calendar available with an integrated workshop management feature, so you know that the bay's available. If they want a car, you know a courtesy car is available on that day at that time, and that there's a technician available to service the car. By connecting all of that data, you've delivered an experience to a customer which they expect in this day and age. They don't want to sit on hold for 10 minutes being transferred from department to department and then told that they can't get until Tuesday, but they work on a Tuesday, and just give them everything at the touch of a button that they want and what other industries make available to people.
Yeah, evolving expectations are really important. But Tony, going back to that single view of the customer idea, what can we learn from other areas in other industries? Any insights into how industries, businesses outside automotive handle
I mean,
it?
we can all look around. If you if you look at Apple, for example, it's a consistent experience. You know exactly where you are. But what's also is the way they've used that. So, for example, you've got a very simple way to pick a product, limited choice, very similar to Tesla. So now that you've got that, those two things combined are very powerful. But it's on the basis that you know exactly what a customer's doing at all stages in the journey. Marketing automation, that's good, but it's really powerful once you've combined that with that single view. Mm-hmm. So I think there's some practical things once you get the basics in place.
Yes, brilliant. Okay, now I want to give the opportunity to the floor to ask questions.
Yeah.
Have we got any people already using these advanced CX technologies based on automation? Have you got your hand up? No. Yes? No. He's looking away. Okay, so, oh yes, here we go.
Knew you would. Go on, Ruben.
Just give me a time check. Brilliant.
Thank you. I thought I'd give it a fair pause and then see what I could say. So question to Matt first and the rest of the panel. Talked a lot about the underlying data, the challenges with building AI on top of that. Have you seen any use cases yet where you can use the AI to clean the data and identify those missing touch points that just aren't there and help correct it? Or are there dangers and risks of doing that that might build a belief in corrupt data?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So the question was, are there any use cases of using AI to actually kind of potentially clean or augment or orchestrate the data? I would say that's not something that we're focused on at the moment. There are, as you say, there are some risks around that. Rails, what we have seen is that kind of area of, we're gone? No, of like passing data out. So the example is, in that demo that we did, right, we just then add the new instruction into the prompt to say, don't bring back pricing data prior to 2024, or don't bring back model data that meets this criteria. So actually, you could argue that route is potentially quicker and easier. So rather than trying to go back into a database and clean 10,000 rows of old reg data or inaccurate MOT data, you could just say to the prompt, ignore these certain data sets. As you test and learn and you realize these things are wrong, you literally just write into the prompt to exclude it. And I think that's again, it's probably a quicker way, it's probably a cheaper way to start with. I think I've gone again, but yes, will AI get to the point where it could clean the data? Yes, absolutely. So the big difference between co-pilots, which is what we're all using with ChatGPT, and what we're calling agent and agent force, is AI agents can actually take action. So they can invoke an email, they can book a test drive, they can book an appointment, they can execute a MuleSoft API that pushes an update into a DNS. So there's no reason why an action couldn't be, go find all of the Reuben colonies in the database and make sure they've spelled the name correctly, because it's in 27 different times. So that can be done, but I wouldn't say there are customers actively doing that at the moment. They've got bigger fish to fry and lower hanging fruit to go after.
I think we've got probably a good example at the moment where feels if we're all riding the motor commissions kind of journey. So we have clients in FS and also who basically have gone from nothing to having literally thousands of calls and emails to nothing, to having another 1,000 calls when there's a TV program. So effectively, what we've done is we've used technology and AI to respond to those, but actually to go and look for the information, because at the moment the request is a request for information. Now that information is going back a long time, it's typically unstructured, and this is where we got GenAI can actually go through, and it's not just about people, because we can put 500 people into doing that, but they physically kind of get that together, so that's a practical thing for us. Yeah. And it's shortcut, and it's given the ability to respond very quickly.
Great, thank you, Tony. Well aware that people want to get to the next sessions. Is there one last question? This lady.
Thank you. So it's a very quick one. So we are starting to adopt those AI tools for dealerships where sales teams can look into car information, look up quickly. We're finding that there is a bit of resistance from them to adopting, not trusting those tools, and preferring to actually ask someone about the information instead of the tools. Do you have any suggestions that for us to make it easier for them to start adopting those tools?
I mean, trust is a really important thing, right? So yes, I think you've got to pilot. So I would say a lot of the customers we see, they take a subset of their user base and they run a trial for say 3 months. So say they've got 70 employees, they take 7 and they test it with the 7 employees, one to see if there's productivity gains, but also to uncover things that might be around adoption or data quality. So I think doing a trial with a subset of employees is one way to address those issues quickly before you roll it out. I think you have to address the data quality. you also have to explain to people that at the moment, like AI is an enabler, it's an augmentation. It's not going to replace you, and it's not going to also just kind of like suddenly make everything easy, right? You've still got to apply critical thinking and logic and everything else. But I think you've also got to come over that human thing of being a little bit anxious around, you know, what are the downstream implications? I mean, the reality is this tech is moving really, really fast, right? Harvard Business Review did an article in November last year saying Copilot's amazing. When we get agents in 3 years' time, that's going to be when it's really amazing. Well, we're 12 months later and we have 300 live customers using this. So the tech is moving very, very quick. So I think what you need to do for your people is you actually need to educate and enable them on what this actually is and how it works, so that they don't fear. People fear the unknown. If they understand it, even mechanically how an AI agent works, I think there'll be more trust and there'll be more understanding and better adoption. So I hope that helps.
Yeah, but again, it's how you use it. You know, if you give somebody a telephone and they rang somebody every minute, it would be the wrong use of a telephone. So all we're talking about is applying that to the new tools and technology that we have access to.
Brilliant. Well, I'll wrap it up there. Thank you, gentlemen. I'm sure, you know, there's plenty more time for an opportunity for discussion with the panelists if you catch them after the session. Thanks once again. I hope your customer experience journey is as smooth as Tony's vision is.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.